What's going on, Trader Shop fam? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay Seals. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about Apex Trader funding and their eval accounts and their funded accounts, what the rules are and the differences between the two accounts. And since Apex recently changed their rules on the PA accounts, I feel like it was a good time to go ahead and break it down. So if you're interested in trying an Apex funded account real fast, you can see on the screen, they are doing an 80% off sale currently and a 1-day pass for the next 6 days. So if you're interested, there's a link down in the description for that, as well as a whole bunch of other prop firms that I've reviewed on this channel. But without further ado, let's get right into it. The first rule that the eval account has, and probably the most important rule, is that you got to hit that profit goal on your account, right? You got to hit that profit goal and you can't hit that max drawdown. That is different for each account. Now, I've broken down what drawdown is for the prop firms intraday and end of day drawdown. I'll link it up in the cards. That way you guys can watch that video as well. But that's the first thing that's important. The second thing is you have to trade a minimum of 7 days. But like in the intro, right now they're doing a 1-day pass. It's been a while since they've done the 7 days of trading. I don't know if they're ever going to go back to it. This is kind of the old rule. Right now, you could do it in a day, so I don't think that rule will come back, but we'll have to see. Now, one thing that I don't think anybody really ever talks about is following the code of conduct and being professional, but essentially, just what that means is just don't bad talk the company on social media, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube. Don't talk bad about them if you're going to trade with them, because they can, and I've heard will, take your account if you do so. And then a very big no-no is not letting someone else trade your account. Don't share your password and username. If they find out about that, then they can potentially take your account. And then just to monitor your max showing drawdown, which I don't get why that's really a rule. I mean, I don't think that's, I don't know. That one's interesting. But those are the 5 rules for the eval account. Pretty simple. It's not that tough. You can trade news. That's a big thing. They don't stop you from trading news events while you're in your evaluation stage. And yeah, I mean, you can't break a rule for opening up too many contracts, so they stop you from doing that. And you can't break a rule for holding overnight, because they will close your position. And if they don't close your position, then you just eat whatever happens when the market opens back up because you forgot to put it in. So you could blow your account based off that, but some prop firms will actually blow your account for opening up too many positions or for holding through the market close. So that's really nice there. Before we go through the PA accounts, I figured it'd be a good time to recap all the different accounts and what you have to do to pass the actual account. The 50K account, you got to hit 3K, and you can't go below 2,500, and that's your intraday trailing drawdown. For a 75K account, it's 4,250 for your profit goal and 2,750 for your drawdown. For the 100K account, it's 6K and 3K for your trailing drawdown. The 150K, you need to make $9,000, and your trailing drawdown is $5,000. For the 250, you need $15,000 in profit, and 6,500 is your trailing threshold. And then the 300K account, you need to make 20K, and you have a trailing threshold of $7,500. And then lastly, you've got the 100K static account, where your profit goal is $2,000 and you have a total drawdown of $625. So there's no trailing threshold. It won't trail you as you make money. You just get $625 like you were in a real account, and you got to make the 2K to pass it. Now, if you do end up blowing the accounts, you can reset them, and for a Rhythmic account, that's going to cost you $80 to reset it, or you can just wait till the end of the month, and the monthly fee will end up resetting your account instead of paying the $80. If you decide on a TradeAvate account instead of a Rhythmic account, it's a little bit more expensive to reset. It's $100 instead of the $80. Don't at me. I don't know why it's more expensive, but it's $20 more. And same thing, if you just wait till the end of the month, it'll reset it for the monthly fee instead of paying the $100 and then paying again the monthly fee. So that option is completely up to you. Lastly, there's no consistency rule for the evals, and that just goes back to the fact that you can pass in 1 day, so there's no reason to have a consistency rule. The only thing they want to see is that you can beat the trailing drawdown. Now for the PA accounts, one of the big things, they don't really talk about it, but I think it's a given, is again, you get the same exact amount of money in trailing drawdown as you do in the eval account, and you cannot hit your drawdown. You hit your drawdown and you're out, right? And this goes even a step further with that, is basically if you're going for a home run, either a below the account or I'm gonna make a ton of money, and you end up blowing your account, but let's say you have 19 other accounts, eval accounts, just, stockpiled, ready to go to be able to fund it and then do the same thing over again. Try to hit another home run and you blow that account and then you activate your next one and then you blow that account too and you activate the next one and you blow that account. If they see a pattern with that strategy, then they're not going to pay you out if you do end up hitting a home run, and they can take away all your accounts. So just don't do that, right? Make sure you're trading like a trader and not trying to game the system in that way, because they will end up taking your accounts if you end up doing that. Another thing that they're watching out for is your risk to reward ratios. They believe that you should have a risk to reward between 3 to 4 times what you're risking. So if you're risking, let's say $100, you should be risking, or you should be making about $300 to $400, and not the other way around. You shouldn't be risking $300 to $400 to only make $100, right? That's kind of backwards hustling there, right? Now, where I'll just put my own 2 cents in is that I don't think going for a higher risk to reward should necessarily mean that there's a red flag in there, as long as you're consistent. And honestly, I don't think that they're going to, flag you for doing that. I think it's more so is if they see a pattern of you getting a 3 to 4 risk to reward, and then all of a sudden you get like a 30 RR trade, then that might throw up a red flag of like, yo, what's going on? But if you're consistently getting like a 10 or, which is not out of the realm of possibility, right? Like I know a lot of people who can easily get a 10R trade or 12R or whatever, right? If that is within your system, then they're fine with it. You just got to establish that from the jump that that's what you're doing, right? And they're perfectly okay with that. Next is the rule that a lot of people were heated about when they came out with it, or not really when they came out with it, but they've always had the rule. They just weren't enforcing it. So you can add into a winning position and they're fine with that, right? So let's say you go long at $100 on, on in the market, right? I'm just using this example to make the numbers nice, because as y'all know with futures, the numbers aren't nice, right? So let's say you go long at $100, right? And then the stock moves up to $105 and you're like, oh, okay, I'm winning on the stock, so I'm gonna go ahead and add another position, right? And then the stock or the future moves to $110 and you're like, dang, this is really pumping, I'm gonna add 3 more, right? They're cool with you doing this, no problem whatsoever. But on the opposite, let's say that you get in at that same $100 mark and you go long, and instead the stock ends up coming down on you and now you're at $98 and you're like, oh shit, coming down, I'm in trouble, coming down. So now I'm going to go ahead and add another contract. It's going to bring my average down to, $99, right? So now this is my average. And then it drops down to, let's say, $96. And you're like, oh, we're still coming down, I'm going to add 2 more. Now your average goes to, let's say, 98.5 or something like that, right? And then it drops all the way down to, let's say, $70. And you're like, oh, I'm really hurting, I'm adding like 5 more down here at $70. And now it brings your average all the way down to, let's say, $82. And then next thing you know, the market rocket ships up back to 90 and you close your position for a net win. That's what they don't want to see, right? They don't want to see you averaging down, trying to make your way back up, and then the market goes into your favor by a couple of dollars, couple points, whatever, and then you close the position and you're green, right? That's called DCAing, dollar cost averaging, and they don't want people to do that. Now, in a regular market, it's perfectly okay, but when you're trading their prop firm and they're making the rules, that's something that they don't want you to do. Now, you can do it one time. One time, you're good, but any more than once, they don't want to see it. So, that's just a rule that you should be aware of if you are trading Apex, because if you do DCA a lot, then you can find yourself being denied a payout because of it. They might not take your account because so far I haven't heard of anybody getting their account closed because of it. But what they will do is they'll deny your payout, and then you got to trade more days until the next payout cycle without DCAing so that you can get a payout, which could result in you blowing your account, right? Because you got to put more risk on the table. So it's just something to be aware of. If you do want to trade with Apex, this right here is the rule that you got to know because it could come to bite you back in the butt if you're not careful. There's no consistency rule when you're in the eval account, but you do have to worry about a consistency rule when you're in your PA account. And what the consistency rule is basically they want to see you making roughly about the same money each and every day using the same risk parameters, right? And so they have a 30% consistency rule, meaning your biggest day can't be more than 30% of your entire profit. Let's say you're up $3,000 in your account. So you'd be eligible for a payout. But your highest day of earnings, the most you made in a single day was $1,200. Well, if you were to divide that by 0.3, which would be your 30% consistency, you would end up making, or you would end up getting a number of $4,000. Meaning right now, you're at 40% and not 30%. So you're 10% over because you got 4K. So what you would need to do is you would need to make an additional $1,000 to be able to balance this out so that it goes to that 0.3 or that 30% that you need. And that's how you would calculate that 30% consistency to make sure that you're within the window to be able to request a payout. So hopefully that'll help and that breaks it down, because I know that the 30% consistency rule can be very confusing for people. But just remember that you have 10 days within the trading window. So if you're up, $3,000 in the first few days, but you've made 1,200, then you have plenty of time to make this up. You don't have to make this all in one day, right? Like you can spread it out. You just have to make a total of $1,000 over the next, let's say 5 days if you made this in 5 days, right? So just so you guys know, that's how you would calculate that to be able to stay within that 30% consistency rule, which, in retrospect isn't the worst. I mean, it could be better for sure, but it's just something that you need to be aware of. They have a max 20% flipping rule. What flipping is just opening up a contract and closing it just so it counts as a trading day, because you need to trade a total of 10 days. So if you've hit your 30% consistency and you're nearing on those 10 days, they have a 20% flipping rule. Basically, what that means is out of the 10 days, you can only flip 2 days. So if you're on day 8 and you've made your profit, you're within the 30%, then those last 2 days you can flip and be okay. But if you flip anything more than that, you're going to be in trouble and you're not going to get a payout. So, in my opinion, you probably should just not flip at all. That way you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to open yourself up to that, just know that you can only do it 2 days out of the 10 and you're fine, right? But if you start extending more days, like if it's 20 trading days, then you can do 4 and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's that rule. When you're in the combine, they say you can trade news. But when you aren't in the combine and you're in your PA, they prohibit news trading in any way, shape, or form. So you can't trade any of the news events. You can't trade directional, straddle, strangles, the initial news burst, entering a trade before or after the news. You got to wait. They don't give us time frame. I wish they would. A lot of prop firms will say you can't enter 2 minutes before, during, and after the news. I wish they gave you more of a time frame for it. But I would just say, just ignore the news completely. Don't trade it at all. They also say that traders may trade their normal trading system during news times, entering on standard entry rules they use each day. So basically what I gather from that is kind of that 2-minute rule that most prop firms have. So let's say you're an overnight trader, right? And you normally hold trades into the New York Open, right? Well, if you do that and you're already holding your trade well before the news event, then you should be fine. But if you're getting in right before the news event just to ride the news event's volatility, that's what they don't want. So it's got to be within your normal system. So if you're an overnight trader, you should be fine. But if you are an overnight trader and you're trading directly for the news, then you're going to run into this problem right here. Apex doesn't want you to do any automated trading. So no AI, no Autobots, algos, fully automated trading systems or software, high frequency trading. So like super micro scalping, holding for like 2 seconds and then getting out, then getting back in for 2 seconds and getting out, going long, going short, taking 300 trades a day. They don't want that. They want, traders who are taking normal entries for, I would say, at least 5 minutes, maybe even 2 to 3. But, being in a trade for only a few seconds and getting out is something they don't want. And then lastly, hedging and correlating instruments. So they don't want you to short the NQ and then long the ES at the same time, right? I have seen traders that will long the instruments at the same time. I mean, they move together. So, it's very rare to see NQ and ES doing something different, although it could happen. But for the most part, they don't want you to be hedging your bets. And a lot of times you're going to lose when you hedge your bet anyway. So you might as well just stick to one instrument and stay with that. Those are all the rules for Apex, whether you're trading an eval account or you're trading your PA account. I wish you guys the best of luck, whether you're on your eval funded, trying to get funded journey, or if you are, actively getting payouts, or if you're just on your very first PA account, searching to get that first payout. It'll come eventually. Just keep working hard. As always, I appreciate the support on the channel. If you haven't already and you want to learn more information about Apex Trader, I have put together an entire guide breaking down Apex, and I'm going to leave it up right now.